Hi, I'm Maria with Ida Daily and Your Black Women. And I would like to kick off this video by saying if you're offended by things such as facts, accountability, or constructive criticism, go ahead and cut the video off. There's no need to proceed beyond this point because you're going to be offended. Now, for those of you who want to stick around, I'm going to jump straight into it. So this morning, I posted on Facebook. This is December 2nd, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2015. I posted on Facebook inquiring about Dr. Umar Johnson's Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Leadership Academy. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Dr. Umar Johnson, aka the Prince of Pan-Africanism, is currently raising $4 million for this academy. Now, what makes this academy unique in his opinion is that it has a curriculum that is centered, and then also the students will actually live on campus. So it's almost like a boarding school, but with an Afrocentric curriculum. So he came out the gate initially asking for $2 million. And so I checked his GoFundMe page this morning, and it has since increased to $4 million. Now here's where it gets a little interesting. He asked for the initial $2 million without a business plan, without any track record of having run any institution, especially a multi-million dollar institution. Essentially, it was just him asking just because he wanted to. In addition to that, unlike most crowdfunding campaigns where, like for example, Kickstarter, there's some type of direct incentive for donating your money. So it may be something nominal. It could be if you donate $5, we'll acknowledge you on our Facebook page. Or it could be something that's more valuable. If you donate $250, you get to get an autographed copy of a book, or you get to fly to a city and see the movie, or whatever it is, right? Some incentives are, more valuable than others. But whatever the case is, you get a direct incentive as a result of your donation. Well, GoFundMe, which is the platform that Dr. Johnson has chosen to use for his crowdfunding campaign, does not require this. So you're essentially just giving your money out of sheer support and faith in Dr. Umar Johnson. Well, the problem with that is, it's just basic business logic that you don't fork over your money to an individual who has no track record of running a business, to an individual who can't even provide you with a viable business plan for their business, and to an individual who has a reputation for blocking anyone who dare question what he's doing. That doesn't make sense. And that's just a basic business principle. I'm not even sharing any like MBA business knowledge here. This is actually common sense, really. You don't fork over money to anyone, no matter how reputable they may appear to be, without them actually proving to you their unique sales proposition. And in this case, Umar essentially was just asking for the money just because he's Umar Johnson, and that's it. And so the purpose of this video is not, number one, I want to say this is not to slam or, severely criticize Umar Johnson. This is really a conversation with me to the collective Black America. So we have to hold people accountable, right? So obviously you start with the person in the mirror. You hold yourself accountable. What are you doing to lead our people to liberation? What are you doing to better our circumstances, right? But then also those who claim to be in some position of leadership, like an individual who calls himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism, you have to hold them accountable as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking him, hey, Dr. Johnson, where's the money going? Because we've given you the money, but there's no school. Hey, Dr. Johnson, we notice that you keep changing the goal for this campaign. Why is that? Hey, Dr. Johnson, you claimed that you had secured the full $2 million before this so-called scandal with the conscious stripper broke. Well, how is it that it just so happened that this money evaporated after this so-called scandal? How did that occur? Why are we just now finding out that you had secured this funding when this so-called scandal broke? I mean, it's okay to support him and hold him accountable. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And the buck doesn't stop with Umar Johnson. This is even the case with Reverend Al Sharpton. How dare anyone ask Reverend Al Sharpton, why have you met with the president not once, not twice, 3 times on record? Why have you met with the president of the United States of America 3 times to discuss a so-called black agenda that never came to fruition? What happened with that? I wrote an article about this a while ago. I think it was last year, actually. I did a considerable amount of research on the fact that Reverend Al Sharpton had met with the president. He and his cronies, at the time, Ben Jealous and Mark Morial, had met with the president 3 times to discuss what they called the black agenda, which sadly most black Americans, at least those that I've come across, didn't even know a black agenda existed. So where did they gather this black agenda? I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is they called it the black agenda. And they actually met with the president at least 3 times to discuss this black agenda that never came to fruition. There's nothing wrong with asking them what happened. There's nothing wrong with asking Reverend Al Sharpton, who is a known FBI agent, the same entity that is responsible for dismantling and destroying our most prolific and dedicated leaders and entities during the height of the civil rights movement in the 60s, right? There's nothing wrong with asking him, why should we trust you now when you worked for the very organization, whether you worked for them in 2015 or 1985? You worked for an organization that is directly connected with the deaths or the assassinations. Let me rephrase it. The assassinations of some of our most prolific leaders. Why should we trust you to lead and speak on behalf of Black America? You can ask that question without being overly critical of Reverend Al Sharpton. You can ask that question without any malintent. Just ask the question. Hold him accountable. We see the same thing with President Obama. I mean, now I don't want to confuse people and make them think that I am equating President Obama to so-called black leadership, because he's not a black leader. So let's clear that up. He's a politician, which is fine. But politicians are beholden to, number one, their donors. Number two, those who put them in office, which most of the time the donors are the people who put them in office in the first place. But in this instance, I'm talking about those who voted for him. President Obama got a substantial number of votes from Black Americans. There has been a ton of research that says, hey, if it were not for this, overwhelming support from the Black community, this president may have lost his elections, right? And despite that, people actually get offended when someone poses a question like, well, hey, President Obama, you launched the clemency program 2014, and you've only released a handful of people, not a handful, but considering that there are some thousands of inmates who are in federal prison at this very moment, who were sentenced under these ridiculous laws where they did not commit a violent crime, but yet they are serving life sentences as first-time nonviolent offenders. They're serving life sentences. And he has the power and the authority without a Congress to set these people free, to release these people from confinement. He has the power. He has acknowledged, if you guys read his Rolling Stone interview from 2008, that was one of his core platforms. He had promised that when he got into office, he was going to change that. He was going to change the climate. He has done an extraordinary job in some areas with regard to justice reform. I have to give him his props for that. Just like I have to give Dr. Umar his props for being an excellent orator. Just like I have to give Reverend Al Sharpton his props for bringing issues about Black America to the forefront. All of these guys have done good and they've done bad. We all do, right? At the end of the day, though, they are to be held accountable. Just like you and I are to be held accountable for what we do or do not do for our people. We all must be held accountable. But even more so them, because they're on larger platforms and they affect more people. Those of us who are, your average Joes and Janes, we affect our community, which is amazing. That's awesome. We affect our household. That's great. But these are people who literally can shape the perceptions of hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people. And so they are to be held at a higher standard. Absolutely. They must be held accountable. You can't let them not be held accountable. But back on President Obama, he has the power to sign clemencies for individuals who are serving life sentences, the same sentences that he finds repulsive, and yet he hasn't. And when someone asks, why haven't you signed on the dotted line to release these thousands of people who are eligible, many of whom are Black? People will actually get offended and say, oh, well, he's not the president of Black America. He's the president of all America. Well, Black America is part of America too, right? Native Americans are part of America. He's helped them significantly with the reparations. Jewish Americans are part of America. He's recently given them reparations as well. Women are a part of America. He's done great work for women. LGBT is a part of America. He's done great work for the LGBT community as well. So let's get out of this idea that he somehow can't do anything for Black America when we're actually Americans too. Again, you can hold him accountable and still like him. It doesn't have to be personal. It doesn't have to be nasty. You're just holding him accountable. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's essentially all I want to say is just let's hold our so-called Black leaders accountable if we're going to have them. Now, I personally I'm against Black leadership. I think that it's outdated, it's old, it's stupid. We should have learned from the 60s when all of our leaders were assassinated and the movement died with them momentarily. We should have learned then that having this spokesperson, if you will, representing us is a failed strategy. So we need less Black leadership, more Black institutions, in my opinion. Dr. Umar Johnson's Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Leadership Academy, it could very well be an extraordinary institution, right? But the fact of the matter is it's not anything right now beyond an idea, because we don't even have a business plan. We don't have anything that shows us that this academy is actually going to come to fruition, just like we don't have any proof that this so-called Black agenda that Reverend Sharpton pushed up to the president has not come to fruition. So these things are merely just ideas. And I'm personally not, I'm not a fan of treating ideas as if they are actual viable, real products and or entities. They're just ideas that can easily fade away or change over time. So let's hold these people accountable. If we're going to have Black leadership, hold them accountable. And that's all I wanted to say. And I'm looking forward, if you know some information that I don't know, if you know information about Umar Johnson's school and you want to clarify some things, please leave a comment. Please leave a comment. I will read it. Correct me. If you don't have the answer to the question and you just want to get upset and leave some silly comment about my hair or something ridiculous that has nothing to do with the conversation, just keep it moving. I mean, you either know information about the school, like you can update us and let us know what's going on, or you don't. The best way to shut down a critic is to hit them with facts. So if you know what's going on with his school and you want to inform everybody, please, I'm asking you to let us know what's going on with his school. If you are from Al Sharpton's camp and you happen to know what happened to the so-called Black agenda that essentially disintegrated and, you know, despite him meeting with the president 3 times to discuss it, does not exist. If you have information on that, inside information, please share it in the comments. Share it. I want to know. So that's all, folks. I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening, and I'm looking forward to reading some of your comments. Take care. Bye-bye.